Hello everybody, welcome. This is ALX and this is the fifth part of my Titanic paper model build that I have right here in front of me. You might look at it, and if you saw the last video, you might not see any changes whatsoever on this model. That's because I'm doing things a little bit different. I'm recording this before doing all the changes, and I'll go through them throughout the video. You might also see a little bit of change of scenery because I've been moving quite a lot in these few months. That's why I haven't been able to continue this build, but I hope that in the coming weeks I will be able to actually finish it. Set it up for all the details, the rigging, the masts, and everything else that goes with it. And yeah, so welcome, and let's go crack on. First, I started with the vents, and for those I began by cutting stripes of different widths out of the paper that I'm using for the entire model. I would then continue by cutting out small portions out of these stripes in accordance to the element that I will be working on. The resulting pieces would be then glued and layered together one on top of the other until I get the specific thickness that I'm looking for, depending on the element that I'm working on. After a while, I noticed it was easier to just layer those stripes together and then cut out the different shapes I would be needing, like squares, rectangles, trapezoids, and even cylinders. That all assembled together, I end up with something looking a little bit like this. A finished vent element, which you can see here the very nice effect it gives once it's placed on top of the deck and accompanied by other fixtures surrounding the forward funnel. Right here you can see me working amidships, gluing the bases of some vents and making my way throughout the length of the entire ship, assembling and gluing each individual element. I would like to take a moment to specify that all this work is purely custom, and it is in no way, shape or form included in the downloadable files that you can obtain from the creator's website at the link that I always add in the description of each video. Also, remind my viewers that I scaled up the original file, effectively doubling the scale, which would allow me to add more detail to the model. I repeated this process of cutting stripes and shapes while looking at a bunch of online reference to eyeball and approximate the shapes and sizes of the vents. Now, I'm not worried about getting perfect accuracy here, since my goal is just to achieve that detailed look. And now, after a very long and tedious process of putting together all the different kinds of vents, well, at the beginning I was thinking it twice with the first vents I was assembling, but I pushed on, and now looking at the results, well, I'm quite satisfied with this. I'm amazed and impressed with the results, considering this is all made out of, well, thick paper. And still, there's a bunch of detail missing from the decks, like the benches, winches, bunch of piping, and other stuff. Well, this is coming up real nice, and there's some vents that go here on the aft castle. I already have them made. The thing is, there's a lot of detail that goes in here, and because the vents stand really proud, I'm afraid I might just knock them over in the process of adding the rest of the detail. So I'm just leaving that for the end after I add the details, like the bollards and all that stuff. I'll just add them at the end. But yeah, this is Titanic with events. And I'll continue on to add the rest of it, the rest of the details, that is. Next step would be the benches. Here I'm working on cutting them out of my printed sheet of custom details, and also remembering to score the back side of them before getting them out of the sheet completely, so I can later work on that middle fold and get that desired bench shape. As for the armrests of the benches, I used some gray printed sections of my detail sheet and started cutting out small squares for the sides. I would then cut out one of the corners of the square to give it an L shape that follows the shaping of the bench. Added some glue to the side of the bench piece and added the armrest in place. Did so for the other side, and then ended up with some very nice looking miniature benches. I finished the pieces with the help of a black marker for coloring the white borders of the paper in the armrests, and a brown color pencil for the wooden section. Right here you can see I have them all done and already ordered in the position that they will be glued to the decks of the ship. Next up are the bollards. One type is very simple and involves just cutting the detail out of the sheet of paper. A second type is much taller, and for that one I began by painting a stripe of paper with a gray marker, painting what would be the top of the elements as well. I cut out tiny posts out of the stripe, followed by gluing them into the bases of the fixture. You can notice that I have already pre-cutted the bases, which makes it easier for me to glue the posts and detach the pieces later. I finished taking them out of the sheet and make sure to cover all the white paper border with the gray marker. Next element on the list are the ship's capstans. Those are notoriously round. You can see them here as those brown dots on the poop deck. Because of this, I began by cutting a stripe of dark gray to form the body. Then, with the help of some tweezers, I would roll the stripe to the desired shape. I make sure it fits its base, add some glue to the body piece and place it on top of the pre-cutted base. I would then cut out the final top piece and glue it to the body to finish the assembly. Once again, paint the white borders with my marker, and I end up with a finished capstan that is looking pretty proper, I'd say. And here I just want to show you all that previous work with all the finished elements, sorted out and ready to be glued to the ship. Notice that for some reason I ended up with spare bench. Better to have spares than missing pieces, I guess. But before gluing all that, I need to cut out and prepare other elements from my sheet of custom details, such as piping, anchor chains, skylights, ventilation ducts, and so on. Now, I will leave you with a time lapse of me working on the rest of these elements and some of the process of gluing all the details I just showed you to the decks of the model. I will be back shortly to give you a final look at the ship with everything put together at the end of the video. And this is the result of all that tedious and meticulous work of putting together the different fixtures that populate the top decks of the ship. And well, I'll try to give you some quick before and after of the bow and the stern especially, but giving you a quick sweep around the length of the ship to really capture all the work that has been done here. I was having second thoughts at the beginning because of the overwhelming amount of details that had to be done. But once I got past maybe the middle point of each of the elements, like benches and vents, it really started to come up together. And once they were placed on top of the decks, I mean, I'm really proud of the work I've done here. I'm really satisfied that I continue on to add all these details. I really especially like the view from the back where you can see all the gribbling and detail come to life. I mean, it's just looks cluttered, looks alive with things that are going on the ship. Otherwise, it would look quite plain. But well, this is it. I mean, there's still stuff missing, some of the details that will come later. For example, there's no compass tower right there in the middle. There are some winches that are still missing, and a few other little things that will be added soon enough. Talking about things that will be added, I'll just give you a quick heads up of what's coming. I already have some materials right here. For example, I have these skewers that I'll be working on and testing for building up the masts. And also I got my hands on this nice, well, discarded curtain catalog that has all these very nice curtains that will work great for railing. I'll be doing some tests as well, but I have all different kinds of material here to play with that will come really handy for railing. There's also rigging and stuff like that, but that will come later on. I hope to finish this model in the coming weeks. It's already almost a year that I started this, so I really personally want to finish this already. But I'm taking also my time to do it well. And I wanted to end this video on a final note about this Titanic 3D puzzle that I got a few weeks ago, and I'm planning to put together maybe tomorrow or the next few days. I don't know, it just looks interesting, and I might do a quick comparison between the two, just as a bonus in a future upload. And well, that's all for today. As always, I leave the link on the description below if you want to download the paper sheets for this model and give it a try. I really encourage you to do that if you're liking what you see here. And go ahead, if you want to give it a like or add something else, you can write it down in the comments. And that's all for today. Thank you all for watching and have a great day. Goodbye.